Welcome to I Got a Guy podcast, a podcast carefully designed to introduce a wide range of very talented and highly skilled professionals ready to share their knowledge and advice with you. Please welcome the host of I Got a Guy podcast, Michael Drelichars. Welcome to I Got a Guy podcast. I'm your host, Michael Drelichars. Thank you so much for being with us. To our loyal subscribers, we really appreciate you coming in every week and downloading our episodes and absorbing the great information our guests provide and reaching out to our guests when you have a need. That's really why we do this. And to our new subscribers, our new listeners, welcome. Hope you get a lot of good information from today's guest. And I encourage you, if you want to look at any and listen to any past episodes, you can go to igotaguypodcast.com. That's igotaguypodcast.com. You can see a list of all of our past episodes and a link to their podcast. And we are publishing these podcasts on YouTube and Rumble for the past several weeks, last few months actually. So there's quite a few episodes on YouTube and Rumble as well. So you can watch our podcast in addition to listening to them. So we hope you have a chance to check them out and see how they might serve you in some way. As many of you know, this podcast was born out of reading a book called The Go-Giver. And in my small business, which is GPS tracking, we do a lot with networking. We network a lot in a variety of different organizations, and it's really how small businesses grow nowadays. It's through networking and through contacts and knowing people. Dialing for dollars, as we used to do in the old days, is gone. It just doesn't work like it used to. So you have to know people. You have to have connections, and demonstrate the value that you provide, and you will grow your business. So I was turned on and introduced to this book called The Go-Giver by a friend who was very astute in the world of networking. And I've read this book several times, and it's a tremendous book. And this book outlines 5 laws of stratospheric success. These are and what's really important about The Go-Giver is referral networking is not about getting referrals, but it's about giving referrals. So you grow your business through giving referrals, and in that process, you receive. But your main focus is how do you give referrals? How do you help other businesses grow? And so in turn, we all succeed. And I truly believe that small businesses are the cornerstone to our economy and our country, and it's really important to help small businesses grow. So with my GPS tracking business, I focus a lot on small businesses. Most of my customers are small businesses, and I really appreciate and I enjoy working with those businesses. I like talking with the business owners. I like empathizing and understanding their challenges and looking at ways where we can help. So that's really the essence of why I do what I do. This podcast is a way of giving back to small business owners and helping their businesses grow and helping everybody succeed. So what I wanted to touch on this week, and I usually point out one of the 5 laws of stratospheric success as outlined in the book. I have identified the law of receptivity, and it's defined by the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving, and that could be receiving assistance, receiving guidance, knowledge, sharing thoughts, etc. And I think when you get to know our guest this week, you're going to see how this really applies to our guest this week. So I think this is a perfect law that marries up with our guest that we have this week. So I'd like you to introduce to somebody I've known for 40 plus years now. We've gone way back, and our guest is Karen Fotopolous, who owns Discover Yoga with Karen, and she's been a yoga instructor for a long time and very passionate about it. And we haven't had a yoga instructor on our podcast before, so this is a new angle, if you will, a new topic that we haven't covered. So I'm really anxious to receive some feedback from our listeners as to your thoughts, because this is quite a bit different than what we've done with most of our guests. So I hope you embrace this episode and really enjoy the conversation that we're about to have. So Karen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me. It's great to be here.
So Karen, tell us a little bit about how you got started with yoga and forming Discover Yoga with Karen.
Sure. Um, Probably about 10 plus years ago, I was just really interested in becoming more flexible. Little did I know that there's the physical flexibility and also the mental flexibility. The mental flexibility came much later. Um, and I was just taken by wanting to be like a Gumby, just very flexible, can do anything. And that just wasn't my case as I started my journey into yoga classes. Um, I was probably one of the least flexible in my body. Yet I enjoyed the teacher's guidance and what I was learning, and I just kept plugging along. And then it really boiled down to helping people, not to become the most flexible, learning about themselves, the dialogue that we are telling ourselves on and off the mat. And they go hand in hand when you're in present moment and you're feeling peaceful. I explain to students, don't leave that on the mat. Take that with you. And so yeah, it's kind of been a long journey, and it continues to be a journey, which is okay. It's really learning about yourself.
So you started out being a student, a yoga
Hmm.
student, and
I'm
practicing and
still a
getting
student.
familiar. Okay,
I'm
okay,
still,
fair enough,
yeah,
fair
yep, I'm
enough,
still a
fair enough.
student. Yeah.
But you started out learning about getting familiar with the concepts, and then
Hmm.
you decided to transition into becoming a yoga instructor.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
was that something because you wanted to just touch the lives of more people, or what? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I started taking yoga classes, and then I was just so inspired by my teachers and them helping me. I decided I wanted to do that. So then I went into training. Well, first I questioned my teachers. I'm like, "Are you sure? Is this a joke?" Because tight hips, hamstrings, and the one teacher said, no, you'd be great because you're going to understand your students a little bit more easier. That's not to say that a teacher that doesn't have those issues isn't a good teacher. Um, I have just found when someone has experienced what you have, it's a different experience, yet it's helpful. So,
So that's how you made the leap and that transition into being a teacher and sharing the
yep,
message. So
yep.
talk. You mentioned a moment ago mental flexibility. I don't
Hmm.
understand how that connects with yoga. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So, sometimes, well, the body can be rigid, stiff, yet our mind can be the same way, always wanting your way, just not being flexible in changing, your thought because you've done it like this for all these years, and that's the way. So yoga, as your body starts to open up, your mind starts to open up, and a person begins to discover, like, hey, there are more choices out here. Yes, have been doing this way for my whole life. Yeah, let me see what's on the other side.
That's interesting. So kind of
Mhm.
going back to our law of stress for success, the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And
Mhm.
what you're saying is that through yoga, you can open your mind to being more receptive to other ideas and uh, other ideas, other solutions, other ways to do things, which
Right.
maybe you were closed off from prior to that.
Exactly. There's more than one way to bake a cake, and um, I try to convey to students, it's not how the pose looks, it's how it feels. If you're receiving a, nice stretch, you're good. If you're not, then we take it up a bit to that student's, level. And, you know, we try to serve everybody, and you have all different levels in the class as well. So it's just being, even as a teacher, to be open, that we have beginners, we have advanced, we have people in the middle, and to try to help all of them
Okay.
as best as
So
a teacher can.
okay, great. So let's touch on that aspect. You teach classes, and they're group sessions. So you have 5 or 6 or 10 people in a class.
Hmm.
So you're in
Yep.
a room. Everyone rolls out their yoga mat and your
Hmm.
other accessories, if you will. Um,
Hmm.
so not everybody's they're not in different levels. Let me take that back. Your classes are not different levels. Your classes are all the same. The students can
Hmm.
be at different levels. Some beginners, some
Correct.
very experienced people, and they can all participate at the same time, even though they have different skill levels, experience levels.
Correct. And I will just, offer, if you're, option one, if you're feeling a good stretch here, you're able to breathe and, be present, hang out here. If not, we're going to try this next step. And, we just kind of go up the ladder, and everyone finds, a place where they can um, be and practice.
So it's not difficult for a beginner to participate when there's other students in the class that may have been doing this for a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Well, it depends on, it's a very good question, Mike. It depends on the individual. As a teacher, I try to, just say you're starting where you're at. We're all kind of like trees, and we're growing, at different um, kind of variations. And everyone had to start somewhere. It's really important to not look around, because as we look around, we're comparing, we start to
Hmm.
judge. And that's one of the reasons we come to the mat, to not judge, not compare, because
Hmm.
society, that's what we do,
Right, right.
unfortunately.
You know, I, I can see that the value in not looking around. I can
Hmm.
also understand. I've been to your classes a couple times, and I know when I'm not very flexible, and so when you're doing a pose, you're like, well, how's that work? And it doesn't make sense, or where am I supposed to put my feet, etc. So you look at others, and go, oh, is that how I'm supposed to do it? But I can see where that could become distracting and probably counterproductive.
Exactly, because what I have explained to students is, maybe Sue is in a very, she needs to go deeper, and that's why her pose is looking like that. Mary might not be able to go that far. Yet if you're looking at someone opposite, either going too deep or not deep enough, you're not gonna, let's see, what's the word? You're not gonna receive the most bang for your buck.
Right.
I
It
explain to
makes sense.
students, because I've caught them. They're like looking around. I'm like, don't look around, and they might be doing it wrong, and not that we're going to scold them. Um, we're all there to learn, yet, listen to the words and,
We don't want to reinforce bad habits or bad
right,
scenarios. And
right,
and bad may be the
exactly.
wrong word, but a person's difficulty of succeeding in one area, may be counterproductive to somebody else. So
Correct.
that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about your students. So your students, you teach a weekly class multiple times a week.
Hmm.
Some students come once or twice a week.
It's, I would say the average is twice a week. I have one student, she comes three.
Okay, good. An
Yeah.
overachiever.
Yeah.
um, so your students, I would imagine they probably have a variety of needs, I guess is the right word to use. Some may have a back issue or a hip issue or issues with their knees, for example, or maybe they are having some other physical or other challenges going on in their lives, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So yoga
And
can that doesn't just fix one type of issue, is my point.
correct. Usually a good practice will kind of hit, the entire body, your forward bends, your back bends, some standing, some uh, balancing, um, some meditation. Even though your physical practice can be a form of meditation, it's a moving meditation versus, being seated and being very still.
Okay, interesting. So your and let's talk about your studio here. Your studio is in Barrington, right? At
Yes,
the
sorry.
community church. That's right.
Yes.
So tell us about that location and how that's working out for you.
It's working out really well. I've been there this year. I'll be there 10 years. And I started upstairs in the adult Bible study. And, after a couple years, I don't know, I was downstairs. I don't know what I was doing downstairs, probably just curious what's down here. And I saw multiple rooms that weren't being used. So I talked to Zena, the pastor at the time, and I said, would there be a possibility of me renting one of those rooms? Sure, I don't see why not. And so I went down there. So it's in the basement, in the lower level, yet it's so peaceful, so tranquil, and just love it. Just love that space. It's been very good for me, good for the students.
And how many people do you typically fit in that room?
I would say on average, 10 can fit, a little snug. I would say between probably 6 and 8 is a little more comfortable. Yet we get creative with fitting everyone in. No one has ever had to leave because of
Oh, that's kicked out.
space
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
Okay, good. And do you have classes 5 days a week?
I have 4 classes. I'm actually there 3 days a week. Does that be right? Yes, 3 days. The Monday evening class is now on Zoom that I'm doing from home.
Okay.
However, in the spring, like Mayish, we'll bring it back to the studio. And then Wednesday morning and Saturday morning.
Okay, good. Good.
Hmm.
So it gives you some variety of timing, fit people's schedules.
Yes.
Okay. So then you get the word out to anybody that I'm trying to think about who's the proper fit for yoga. And I know the easy answer is everybody, but to be more specific to our listeners who might be wondering, gee, I've never tried yoga. Why would it benefit me? What do you say to somebody that's never done yoga and not sure if they would feel any benefit from it?
Okay. I would definitely say, please give it a try. Sometimes it's the teacher or the type of yoga style that may not fit you, and that's totally fine. That's why there's a lot of teachers and studios out there, different types, and it's a good cross training. If you're a runner, a cyclist, golfer, it'll only complement those sports, yet your daily life. It will complement your daily life. You'll start noticing things that are it's very subtle, like maybe, you're on a walk and you never noticed really any of your surroundings. Yoga helps us do that through the poses, through our body, what we're experiencing. So it's a standalone, it's wonderful, yet cross training, Pilates, swimming. It's really a good practice and one that you can do every day. Strength training, strength training, you need to not work the same muscles 2 days in a row, whereas yoga, that's not a problem. You might, on some days need to go maybe a little bit slower or more restorative, and other days a little bit, more heated, more, stronger practice. It's listening to your body, and that's going to help you in life, period.
Okay.
Listening to
So
your body.
sure. So somebody doesn't necessarily have to have a back injury or a knee problem or anything to benefit from yoga. Is what you're saying? You're
Correct.
saying that there's benefits just in being more flexible, you're physically and mentally, and it kind of opens things up in your life in general. And as we all age, being more flexible probably is probably does carry a lot of benefits, probably beyond what you can even explain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the big points is being able to get down to the floor and then back up on your own. And as we mature, sometimes that skill diminishes, and it's a real, real important one, to have in your box.
Okay,
Um,
so if somebody had knee replacement, let's take that as an example. Knee
mhm,
replacement, you go through the rehab and you get your strength, you get your mobility back, and you're walking and doing all that kind of stuff. But
mhm.
oftentimes you don't get back to where you were before. It's right. So does yoga then help you kind of close the gap there?
It does. That's a great question, Mike. And my student that comes 3 times a week, she had a knee replacement. And at her fabulous age, she's doing fantastic. I mean,
And
I'm
you've
just,
seen progress. You've how long has she been a client of yours?
I was just looking at that. I think she's been with me about 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I want to say seven
you've
years.
seen
Hmm.
you've seen measurable improvement from when she started 7 years ago to today,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you believe that it's because she stretches and she does the poses 3 times a week for the last 7 years.
Well, that, and she's very consistent on her own. She has her own set of, movement and exercises that she does on non-yoga days. So, uh, and that's important. I will explain to students, it's great that you're coming to class, yet try to do a little bit on your own. It doesn't have to be an hour class, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Like what,
Work
bike
on
riding or walking, or what are you suggesting?
the yoga, to
Oh,
practice yoga.
use those
Mhm.
poses on your own off time between the classes.
Correct. And if there's
Okay.
something in particular, like balance is a big piece that everyone wants to do perfectly. And, we work on it, I would say, for a good chunk of the class. And, I say there's different ways to balance. There's the physical balance, yet I'll come to the mental part of it again. You could be balancing perfectly, yet your life is just out of sorts. It probably will be hard to balance very well if your life is out of sorts. It's just we can't be thinking of things and try to physically balance. It's pretty hard. Um, so I throw that out, and
I guess I
um,
wouldn't have thought about that, but I guess it makes sense if you got dysfunction going on in your life,
mhm,
outside of the yoga studio, your home life, your work life, family, whatever
mhm.
whatever it might be,
Mhm.
it's going to take its toll on other aspects of your body.
It will, yet we through yoga we learn, not to be judgmental of ourselves, of other people. So it truly is a process and a practice. That's
Yeah.
my explanation to students. We don't call it a perfect, and thank goodness I wouldn't be teaching if it was a perfect. It's a practice. We're learning each time we come to the mat.
And How long does it take for a new student to see some measurable results, something that they can say, oh, gee, I can see it's working because I'm either I have better balance or I can touch the floor, I can kneel down, I can do what Does it take? Is it a few sessions? Is it a dozen sessions? Is it 20 sessions? How long does it take to see results?
It's going to depend on the individual. If they're really, really stiff, it's going to take them some time. Yet being patient, having a good teacher that, will work with you and offer modifications until you get to the point where you are more flexible, and then, you start seeing results. Sometimes people, they surprise themselves, like, I am not they'll say, I'm not flexible. I'll say, okay, let's give it a try. And I'm watching them and I'm like, you're pretty flexible, yet it might be that perfectionist, like, it doesn't look like
Okay.
this or it's not like that. Like, that's okay, you know?
Right. Right. If you watch too many online videos where they're call it professionals or what have you, it can look like it's got to be perfect, but in real
Yeah.
life, it's not always the case.
Mm-mm. Just show up
Okay.
as you are and start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start. Start where you start and make the
Hmm.
best of it and keep an open mind.
Yes, absolutely. And ask
That's great.
questions. I,
Hmm.
I love students to ask questions, even when we're in, moving in class, because that's, you're present, it's happening right there. And we can, kind of look at it, maybe, kind of run back a little bit, and then, from what we've talked about, retry it. And then the student can feel, they can hear, they can see, yet they feel the change from their question.
Hmm. Okay. So somebody wants to get started with Discover Yoga with Karen. What's the best way for them to reach out to you to inquire about your classes and how they get started?
They can call me at 847-508-9472. They can also text me on that line. They can
Repeat the number again.
email
Repeat your number again.
847-508-9472.
Okay.
And the email is all one word, discover yoga with Karen at outlook.com. And then Facebook, you can message me, just discover yoga with Karen, spaces in between, and that'll work.
Okay. Good. So to our listeners, if you're interested in checking out Karen's yoga studio and how it might help your life in one way or another, certainly reach out to her. When you do reach out to Karen, make sure you tell her that you heard about her here on I Got a Guy podcast. Great way for us to connect the dots, and see if it fits for you. Now um, you have if I recall correctly, you have a 10 10 class punch card. Tell us about
Correct.
your program real quick before we take a break
Sure.
here.
Sure. You can drop in for a fee, or you can purchase a 10 class punch card. You have 4 months to use those 10 classes, and you can mix and match the
Okay.
classes.
So you can pay on a per class basis or do a
Hmm.
10 class or 10 punch card that you have to use over a 4 month period of time.
Correct.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. Karen, we're going to take a quick break here and then get
Okay.
back and want to talk a bit more about some of the successes that you've experienced and some of the things that you've learned over these 10 years teaching yoga. So
Sounds
let's we'll
good.
be right back. Be right back here in a minute, and we'll continue with Karen from Discover Yoga with Karen. So be right back. Thank you for listening to I Got a Guy podcast. I hope you're getting a lot of knowledge from this week's guest. But now a word from our sponsor. If your business uses heavy equipment as part of its daily routine, sadly, I don't need to educate you on the reality that this equipment has been the focus of many local thieves either. Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions works with business owners that own commercial vehicles and heavy equipment. We help these business owners enhance their growth and profit through the use of GPS tracking technology. Recovering a stolen asset is just one way we contribute to the bottom line of the business. Our GPS tracking units used in heavy equipment are weather tight so they can handle the elements and even have an internal battery to continue to report its location should the battery in the asset be disconnected. We have several examples of the benefits of GPS tracking in heavy equipment. Reach out to Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions for a detailed discussion about our options and to see if it makes sense for your business. You can find Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions at precisefleettracking.com. That's precisefleettracking.com. Or call us at 847-865-6008. Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions. GPS tracking made simple. Now, back to the show. Okay, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm Michael Drelichars, host of I Got a Guy podcast. We are here today with Karen Fotopolous of Discover Yoga with Karen, talking all about yoga and how it benefits your life and your body, your mind. And you're never too young to start with yoga, and you're never too old to utilize yoga and the benefits of yoga. That's what I'm hearing from you, right, Karen? Reading between the lines.
Exactly. I've had young students at 3-year-olds and
Really?
more mature in their 80s. So, and then everything in between.
Great. Now, one thing we didn't touch on, I know we want to talk on some of your successes, but I also wanted to ask another question. You
Sure.
you do these group sessions with 5 or 6 or 8 students in a class. Do you do any
Mhm.
private classes with if somebody is, let's say, maybe self-conscious and they just want to get started just one-on-one? Is
Yep.
that an unusual scenario?
Yes, that is definitely available. And we would just, meet at the church at my studio and, kind of break down what they're looking for and go from there.
Somebody just wants to get started that way. Okay.
Hmm.
What about group sessions? Let's say I don't know, girls' night out. So a bunch of
Love to
women
do
want to
it.
get out. And you do that? Have
Yep.
you done it before?
I came really close. It just never
Materialized.
materialized yet. I'm very open. That would be a lot of fun. Even corporate yoga. I could go to a corporation and I've done that. I've done that a couple times. So
Okay.
yep, I'm open.
So a corporation that maybe may have a wellness program
Hmm.
where they may want to have you come in at a lunch hour where
Yep,
people all take a break and they can do yoga. Now you typically do yoga for more than an hour, right? Your classes go for more than an hour.
correct. 75 minutes.
Okay.
And I know that
Um,
it's just 15 minutes longer than an hour. It's doable,
sure,
trust me.
sure. But in a corporate setting, no, I understand that. But in a corporate setting, maybe where employees get an hour break, you could do a shorter session just to kind of get people started, right?
Yes,
Do something kind of a
absolutely.
maybe call it a custom program where you do a 45-minute session just to keep people started with the whole
Yes,
idea. Okay,
exactly.
that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to see if we can help you get some started with a couple corporate clients. That would be
I would
I could really
welcome.
see I could really see a corporation that is, because and more corporations are embracing the whole wellness concept. And
Exactly.
when you have healthy employees and your mind is healthy,
Hmm.
you miss fewer days of work, so productivity goes
Hmm.
up, and the quality of your work goes up because you're centered, you're focused, you're
Yep,
in the right um, you're in the right position. And
exactly.
I can really see some value in the right culture that be really good fit.
For
That's
sure.
awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, good. So tell us a little bit about some of your successes, some of the things that you've seen over the years. I'd love for our listeners. I know we have some listeners out there that are saying, "Nah, yoga's not for me," and hopefully they
Yeah.
haven't turned off this episode and they're still listening because I want them to hear this because I don't know if that's an accurate assessment, and I want them to have the right mindset on it. And so, share some ideas of how it might benefit somebody.
Sure. You just, as you start where you're at, you begin to unfold to who you really are. And individual might see things like, oh gosh, I don't like that part about me. Yet to be a whole person, we don't fragment anything. We learn to accept ourselves as we are And that's a very hard concept to take on. Some days are easier than others. um, I do have to say my students are truly the best. They're very conscious of wanting to improve to the best of their ability. The one student that's been with me for 7 years, when she first came, or before she actually came, she was thinking she was going to need back surgery. So she was a little hesitant. And the gal that referred her was a student of mine, yet she was moving. So, she couldn't attend anymore. And she just told the student, we'll think about it, talk to Karen. She's open. And the student came and she did awesome. And she continues to inspire me as a human, as a teacher, as a student. Um, so she's a very good example. I mean, she does what she's supposed to do for herself, and that's for all of us, really. We really
Hmm.
need to stay in our lane, and that doesn't mean that we can't aspire to try something new or maybe a little bit deeper, yet listen to the body. Pain is our stop sign. Um, and I have seen students where they'll just continue to push, and all as a teacher, all that I can really do is just, uh, say no force, no push, listen to your body. If there's pain, you need to start to back off. And as long as that's been addressed, can't really do more. Send them some peace, some love, that they'll come around and realize that they need to adjust their practice.
Okay. You don't have a sign on the wall that says "No pain, no gain." Then is what you're saying.
I don't, but I say it. I grew up with that slogan,
Yeah.
and I was a runner before yoga, and yes, I pushed myself.
Sure.
It's a different, even though, it's interesting now that I'm bringing this up. We do push in, say, running, yet not to the point that you're going to hurt yourself, because then you're out, you know.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
did do a little volunteer at a running store, great experience, yet it brought me back to my running days. And I just had to kind of break it down for them, like, hey, take it easy here. You just ran however many miles, let this kind of be your relaxation, your nice stretching. And a lot of them got it. They really did. Fantastic people. So all you can do is your best as a teacher, as a student, and just keep showing up.
Yeah. So, do you see yoga complementing a strength program? If somebody is working out to get stronger, does
Mhm.
yoga help, or does it slow things down?
No, it definitely helps.
Okay.
Um, you know, the amount of time, sometimes you can be in a pose for a few breaths, or you can kind of hang out there for a little bit longer. And we never want our body to be shaking, because that's a realization that we're either not breathing or we're just pushing too hard. So, as time goes on and you feel yourself ready, or a teacher that will very gently guide a student, you know, thinking that they're ready, yet it's always the student's decision if they choose to go further.
Mm,
Always the student's decision. Even if a teacher thinks they can go further, there might be things going on, and you don't want to disrupt that.
yeah.
At
Okay.
least
Good.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. What other stories you want to share with us?
Had another student, she's still with me. She couldn't bring one of her arms all the way overhead. So there's a stretch that we do pretty much all the time. And after a while, and it wasn't very long, she comes up to me and she says, I couldn't bring my arm all the way up, and now I can. And she had
Hmm.
been, going to a chiropractor. I'm sure he or she, definitely helped her. Yet she, you know, really believed that it was the stretching we were doing that created that range, that full range for her.
Interesting.
Um, Breathing, going to the dentist. Just didn't a student just, how many of us do like going to the dentist?
Right.
And she says, Karen, I started doing the breathing that you were teaching us, and I had no problem. And I said, that's great. So hearing the students using off of the mat the techniques, that's bringing it into your life. And then I would say another
Oh, that's a great
success
example.
story.
That's a great example.
Yeah. And then when you're, doing when we're practicing and you see students self adjust, sometimes if I'm walking towards them, they'll like adjust. And I'm like, wow, you got it. Or I'll say good adjustment. They got it. So that's another success. They're learning, they're grasping, and it's a beautiful thing to see your students grow. Um, you know, Physically, emotionally,
Sure.
um, spiritually.
That's great. And it really comes down to um, utilizing this to help improve our overall quality of life.
Yep,
And
for sure.
and you may have some younger students that maybe don't think about it, and I don't think I thought about it when I was in my 20s. But as we get older, you start thinking about quality of life more, and you
Yes.
see people that might be 80 or 90 years old doing things that a 6-year-old cannot do. And you think, wow, how does that happen? Well, they're focusing on quality of life, and maybe they do yoga, maybe they're blessed with amazing genes. Who knows why? But you see it sometimes. You see it a lot of times where
Yes.
age is not the only determining factor as to what you can and can't do.
Oh, exactly. Exactly, Mike. Yes, and I'm privileged to see that in my classes. They're
Yeah,
truly an inspiration
yeah.
to me. They really are.
That's
Yep,
great, and it's wonderful to be able to um, contribute to individuals improving their quality of life. You got to feel
for,
really rewarding when you walk out of your studio at the end of the day.
for sure. It is. It truly is. A teacher, I know that I've done my absolute best. And you can either see it or, they come up to me and they'll thank me, and I'm just the conduit there, you know, guiding them. It's not
Sure,
me, it's them. And sometimes
sure,
they have a little trouble with that. I say, no, no, it's you. It's all you.
yeah. Well, you have to give them the leadership, and you have to show them the way and provide
Yeah,
them with the steps necessary to accomplish that. But obviously, they have to work on that each and every time, and they have to be willing to have an open mind to trying something that maybe foreign to them. I would imagine some of your students, when they come to your class, have never done yoga before, right?
correct. Absolutely.
So
Hmm.
so at that point, they're starting with a clean slate. They don't know. We've all heard downward dog and those kind of poses, but what that
Right.
means, that may not resonate with everybody. So they have to start from somewhere. And
Exactly.
yeah,
And in my classes, I really feel that there's offerings in so many different ways. So whether you're new to yoga or maybe an injury, recovering from surgery, really thinking about the poses, there's usually a way that a student I can guide them somewhere. And let's say there isn't. I'll say just pause, breathe, again, it's the balance. We need the movement, yet we need the rest. It can't be just all one because we'll get out of balance.
Mm.
So when that's explained, they kind of seem to relax a little bit more because, again, our society is go, 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 go as fast as you can, do as much stuff, at one time. And that's where we learn to be mindful and aware on the
Yeah.
mat and then off.
Well, and sadly, in our society, we are also a society of instant gratification. So
Absolutely.
so many people, they want everything now. They want everything yesterday, and I'm surmising here that with yoga, it helps kind of change that philosophy a little bit. Maybe that it's you have to work towards something. You don't you don't come into yoga class, do one or two poses, and all of a sudden you're instantly flexible.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And there's it's really it's a student's time, to go away from all the distractions, whether it's, work, family, friends, and not to say that those are bad things, yet sometimes we need that break and we need it just ourselves.
So me
And
time.
it's yeah, exactly, me time. And it's really a beautiful gift
Yeah.
to give yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned we talked a bit about physical injuries, knee surgery, back pain, shoulder issues, etc. Let me throw something else out here, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm going to ask it anyway, though, which is
Okay.
not a good thing. What happens if somebody is struggling with something um, other than a physical issue? Let's say they have cancer and
Okay.
um, they're going through treatment. Can yoga
Yes.
help somebody in that situation?
Most definitely. Through my experience, helping cancer survivors or folks that are within treatment, it's the breath work, it's the relaxation that really helps them. It's about accepting their diagnoses. And from my experience, they just feel better than when they came in. And that's students all around. Um, I curing cancer, I mean, I'm not gonna touch that one yet. It will make you feel better for
Yeah, no,
sure.
and no, I not trying to put you on a spot. I don't
No, no.
wouldn't expect it to cure anything, but I can. I'm surmising through our discussion that
Hmm.
as you're going through a challenge like that, and cancer is one example. Um, it's got to put a heavy burden on your mind, and I would think that by going through this, centering your mind and your body, it may it may help you deal with that challenging situation you have. Maybe your body heals differently because your mind is in a better place. I don't know. Maybe not. But I just wanted to explore that a little bit and kind of because we were talking more about physical injuries and physical
Right.
uh, difficulties, and I wanted to take a step a little deeper than that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Mike. And I think it goes back to your opening of being open to receive. And that's whether you have, a cancer diagnosis, or anything that's going on with your life. It's it's really being patient with yourself, and that, is part of the practice we're learning. Um, to be patient and to be open and grateful, grateful that we're in this body and we can come to the mat and do some form of yoga, whether it's advanced, beginner, it doesn't matter. And even I remember a teacher of mine saying, just because you do something that's quote advanced, it doesn't make you an advanced yogi. And the same with beginner. if you're doing, he was talking about pranayama, and he was showing us one pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, a couple different ways. And that's when he said, just because you can't do it this way doesn't mean you're a beginner. And if you can do it this way, doesn't mean you're advanced. And that has really stuck with me um,
What
for a very long
and
time.
define pranayama for us.
So prana is life force. That's what's within us. And it's different types of breath work that is very beneficial. Some breath work, it helps with weight loss. It can help with weight
Oh,
loss. It
really?
can help
Really?
with diabetes. Yeah, it's powerful. It's, again, though, being consistent, starting out and then just working yourself up. Like, none of us would start with, like, say 15 minutes of maybe one pranayama. We would hurt ourselves. So you have to learn the process, and then once you have the right process, then just start, adding more minutes on, and working with a teacher that can guide you, with that and help you along, which I'm able
Interesting.
to do.
That's awesome. That's really interesting. Fascinating information that I don't know is let's call it common knowledge. Maybe others know it. For me, it's not common knowledge. So I feel very enlightened by our conversation. So thank you for going through that detail.
No
And it's
problem.
fascinating stuff. And you know, like I mentioned a little while ago, it really comes down to quality of life. And we're only on this earth for so many years, and
Right.
we don't know how long that is, and none of us know. So
Correct.
so the reality is the the more we can do to make this time on Earth better, not only for ourselves physically, but allowing us to do better for others. Because if we're feeling better, we can do more for others and kind of
Absolutely.
give back and do more. I think it's tremendous, and maybe if more people did yoga, we'd be in a different situation as a whole, as a society. But I'm glad you're out there offering this service, and I know your students are benefiting so much from all you're teaching them. So that's remarkable.
Thank you, Mike.
Um, any other thoughts you want to share with us before we wrap up the episode here today?
Probably just one, maybe two other pieces. So
Yeah.
when students are leaving, my classes, I can see a difference when they come in, how they are, and I'm not doing that in a judging way. They might have a lot of stuff on their mind, or I know they're dealing with an injury, and they know that this will help them. They just have to go at their own pace. And then when they leave, the smile on their face, just their energy, is lifted. And that's the benefit of the practice, blood flow and our breathing, and being, conscious of where we're at, being present. um so that's one piece I wanted to bring. They feel peace of mind and very relaxed after classes. And then I think I'll leave it at that, Mike. I think that's good. And I just hope to see people that
Yeah.
are
Well,
watching
that
this.
yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, I did attend your classes when I had my store in Barrington, and it was a new experience for me. And I have never performed yoga before, never participated in that in any way, and it was interesting um, to know my limitations, know what I can
Yes.
and can't do,
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, it's interesting. So I do encourage our listeners to reach out, and if so, and we do actually have listeners that listen, across the country and actually throughout the world. We have many people listening from overseas. So, do you do any online courses, classes, where somebody that might be out of state still can participate?
Absolutely. My Monday night for right now is only available online, and they can contact me to receive the link. And then my Monday morning and Saturday morning, I'm sorry, I do have Zoomers, so that's fine that they join. And then my Monday and Wednesday morning, for right now, I don't have Zoomers, yet that would be welcome. They would just have to let me know, and then
Okay.
I offer them the link, and we just go from there.
So they
But
can see
definitely,
what you doing the poses, kind of demonstrating the poses, and they can do that from their
yes,
own home or office.
exactly. And like I said earlier, I do encourage questions if they're on Zoom and they're muted. Microphone up and please ask the question. I have no issues with that.
All right, that's great. So, to participate in your class, what type of equipment is necessary for a beginner to come prepared with?
Their own yoga mat, a firm towel or blanket that would be used for either head support or to sit on the edge, blocks, and a yoga strap. For a yoga strap, you can use a necktie, an old necktie, or even a robe tie. Um, but all these materials, the mat, the blocks, the strap, you can, go to a sporting goods store, Walmart, Target. Um, so
So these aren't expensive accessories to come to the table with.
no, I
Just
mean, you
a little
don't
bit,
have to
just a little bit
spend.
started.
I mean, trust me, there's mats up there that are $80 plus, yet you don't need to purchase that to start,
Sure,
or to continue your practice.
sure. But if somebody wants to participate, you were not talking about a sizable capital investment to get started in the activity. For nominal investment they can get started, have the pieces that they needed to do what you need to do. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I really encourage our listeners to reach out to you. Why don't you share your phone number a couple times and your email address again, so our listeners can reach
Sure.
out to you directly?
Absolutely. My phone number that you can call or text is 847-508-9472. Again, 847-508-9472. My email is discoveryoga with Karen, that's all one word, at outlook.com, and Facebook, Discover Yoga with Karen, spaces in between the words.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. I really hope many of our listeners will reach out to you and at least ask a couple questions and see if yoga might be right for them and for the current
Absolutely.
where they are currently in their life. Um,
Would love it.
I really appreciate you participating, Karen. Um, any other thoughts you wanted to share here?
Um, I guess I'll add this one in. So with my community that's there in the studio, you know, if someone hasn't shown up in, maybe a few times and they're a consistent, practitioner, might email them or call them, just kind of checking in with them. Is everything okay?
Mhm.
And everything typically is, and it's just kind of a little extra that I like to bring to the mat, and just let them know that I'm here, concerned yet not pushy, never asking about personal, just checking in if they're okay.
Yeah, good. Well, it's nice to know you care, and I'm sure if they are having a challenge, it might benefit them in some way, and that's good. That's awesome. Well, thank you. I'm going to throw in a quick little plug for Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions. That's my day job, if you will. This is a passion of mine. This I Got a Guy podcast is a passion of mine, and I encourage our listeners to check out I Got a Guy podcast.com. But if you happen to own commercial vehicles, Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions, helps companies that own commercial vehicles enhance their growth and profit through using GPS tracking technology. We've worked with many companies, helping them be better, be more efficient, be more profitable, and manage these really expensive assets. So if you happen to own commercial vehicles in any way, shape, or form, if you're concerned about theft of these assets or concerned about where your drivers might be throughout the day, I'd love to have a conversation, see if we can be of any value to you. So you can reach out to Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions on our website at precisefleettracking.com. That's precisefleettracking.com. Or call us at 847-865-6008. That's 847-865-6008, and we'll take it from there. So that's a little something about my business. And but thank you so much, Karen, for joining us today. To our listeners, thank you so much for being loyal listeners and subscribing to our show. And I really encourage you all to share this episode via social media, via your email, and share the link out with anyone you know that might benefit from learning a little bit more about yoga. So and knowing all about Discover Yoga with Karen. So
Mike,
to you all,
thank you.
yes,
Sorry, go
go on.
ahead. I was just
No,
I just
go
wanted
on.
to thank you for having me on the podcast, Mike. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm glad we can get your message out. But
Thank
and
you.
to all of us, to all of you, please make it a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care. Thank you for listening to I Got a Guy podcast. For past podcasts and more information, go to igotaguypodcast.com. That's igotaguypodcast.com. Please share this podcast on your social media feeds and tune in again next week to I Got a Guy podcast.